Hello, everyone, and good morning to all of you out there. This is the WIA project, and today we have another inspirational person here for you from Raya Airways. Please welcome Rosida. Hi, Sid. It
Hi,
is
Joanna. Nice to meet
it's
you.
nice to meet you. It's such a pleasure to have you here with us. Can you introduce yourself to our audience so that we can get to know you better?
Sure. Well, my name is Rosida Ismail, but friends call me Sid. I was born and raised in Malaysia, and I basically from a family that put a very high emphasis on manners, ethics, and discipline, and those are actually our focus in our life views. Both of my parents are actually civil servants, so I think it's sort of like pretty natural for me to get attracted to the same career path, which actually eventually brought me to the Malaysia's Administrative and Diplomatic Service. I joined them as batch 1 2006, so probably you can guess my age by now. And I actually get to be introduced to the aviation industry from being in that state service. So my initial involvement in the aviation industry was when I got posted as the assistant secretary for air transport at the Ministry of Transport. That is in 2006. Well, among the responsibilities of that particular positions was to manage Malaysia's bilateral and multilateral relationship with foreign countries when it comes to aviation matters. So throughout my, I would say, 6 years plus with the ministry, so I managed to participate in more than 50 bilateral and multilateral negotiation with foreign countries, and that had actually took me to all around the globe. I've been to all continents of the world before I even reached the age of 30s. Well, my life story is a bit funny. Initially, my whole life, I always wanted to be pilot, specifically a MiG-29 pilot. So when I was at early stage, so I studied really hard for that. But somehow fate brought me to the industry, but in a different way, not as a pilot, but actually as someone who focused at the aeropolitical and economic side of it. So my early educations was all based in Malaysia. I obtained my first degree in science actually from University of Malaya, and I got my master degree from the Cranfield University, London, in air transport management. So that's my background.
Wow, it's like you've come such a long way. And from someone who's very young, I'm very impressed with
Thank you.
everything you've done.
I'm not that old yet. I hope.
So as you've mentioned, you've been on the more government administrative side of the aviation industry. So can you tell us why you've stayed in that aspect of the industry for so long?
Yep. Well, I find this question is very interesting because in trying to answer to this question, it made me sit down for a while and reflect myself. So I really appreciate this question. So if you could see currently, the mainstream perception on aviation career has always been associated with works related to aircraft, equipment such as being pilot, cabin crews, engineers, and perhaps some even think of airport and air traffic related functions such as the air traffic controllers. But no one realized that there is actually quite a handsome work behind the scene. So the behind the scene work heavily involved in making sure that the current operating framework of aviation industry is effective and sustainable enough to spur positive aviation activities. This side sadly has always been forgotten. The legal and economic framework are actually the prerequisites actually and basic requirements that needs to be met before any commercial aviation activities can be conducted worldwide. So from time to time, relaxation of these legal requirements need to be considered to enable commercial activities to prosper. So finding the balance between commercial needs and the legal framework is something that I always find interesting because it's not easy. It's a bit tricky. It is like juggling two or four balls in the same hand. So this actually makes me stay and stick to the same job functions for the rest of 14 years already by now, because of the
Wow.
dynamics of the works involved. It keeps on evolving from time to time, and there's a saying, I don't know whether you've came across it or not, but whoever get involved in this particular side of industry, there is never one single dull moment in a day. So you could not sort of like predict what will happen on that particular day once you enter the office. Anything could just happen, and the bomb could have just been dropped that easily. And to make things a bit more complicated, in order for a person to get involved in aeropolitical, the opportunity is not as widely available like any other side of the industry. So those who happen to find themselves in doing aeropolitical side of the industry will tend to stay as long as they think they could, and ended up we tend to create how do I say it's not a cartel, but we tend to create connections with colleagues of the same functions around the world, because most of the time we will be speaking the same language that only us would be able to relate and understand. So that makes me stay.
So that's really interesting because we have to get to more people to know about the other side of the aviation industry, as you've said,
True.
because the behind the scenes is as equally important as the face of the aviation industry, right?
Yes.
So even with your current role now in Raya Airways, you are still connected to the government administration, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
not
yes, precisely.
so now that you've seen like both sides of the fence, how do you compare the both of them?
Okay, well, I would have to say that I consider myself as blessed. Well, throughout my career history, I managed to obtain experience as a policymaker. That was when I was attached to the Ministry of Transport and later to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, both for 9 years. Later on, I joined the Malaysian Aviation Commission, and I started to wear the regulatory hat, which is a bit different than previous at MOT. And later, after 5 years being at the commissions, I decided it's about time for me to join the other side of the industry, which is now to be with one of the um, I would say big player in the Malaysian aviation freight industry, which is Raya Airways, which I just joined last year. So I sort of like almost completed a cycle of being participating in the industry. Um, well, I would have to say when I was at the ministry, the focus was slightly different. The main attention were given to ensuring that the national interest was always covered. When I was at MAFCOM, the focus was slightly shifted to be more focused into industry to make sure that the local industry is first. And now when I joined Raya, the focus is getting more zoom in, I would say. Now the focus is to ensure that Raya will not only sustain our operations, but also to ensure that whatever development and strategic positioning that the airlines wishes to undertake has to be based on relevant regulatory framework, as well as possible opportunities that the regulators and policymakers have to offer. So it is now the function is more of like practicing what I've sort of like started as a policymaker and then regulator, now just to make sure that whatever that I put in place previously when I had a chance is being followed through and implemented, and hopefully it will harness the results not only to the airline, but also to the industry and to the country, and also to aviation in a bigger scale.
Wow,
That's
that's
how
very
different it is.
interesting. But they're sort of still connected, right? Even though they're both so different.
They are. So when we face problems, for examples, or it's not problems, I would say a roadblock. Um, it gave me a further understanding why such roadblock exists and how we could overcome that. Should I do not have a previous experience of working at the ministry as well as regulator, I would have just simply accused the regulator of being biased, or like any other options. But instead, I totally appreciate where they came from and why such decisions was made, and do they actually expect from airlines, and what are the limits or what are the rights that airlines has actually in order to make sure that they could harness the best out of the situation that they face. So yeah.
Yeah. So, on a more personal note, can I ask you, Sid, what are your hobbies outside of work?
Well, those who knows me sort of like associate me with someone who likes to decorate wherever place that I was located at. That's especially my house. So in office, I always replenish my office room with fresh flowers on weekly basis. So in a nutshell, I do like to spend time in decorating and redecorating my house, sometimes my office. I also enjoy reading. But recently, I developed passion in practicing Aikido, and it also trained to upgrade my swimming skills, because I believe that swimming is very crucial skills. And also, I enjoy playing ukulele, especially learning new songs. To and try to jam with ukulele, especially pop song. Pop songs is actually pretty difficult to be jamming with ukulele. Actually, well, I got introduced to Aikido through a friend, and I started to fall in love with Aikido instantly, because Aikido is not like any other martial arts or physical activities. It taught a lot of valuable principles and approaches to life. I would have to say that it actually shaped my career indirectly. One example, during training in Aikido, we will train with anyone that attended that particular training on that day. So this is regardless their gender, their age, and even their seniority level. So my training partner was actually a young boy who's actually 5 or 6 years old. However, I would have to treat him equally, like an equally knowledgeable partners. So while training with him, instead of me teaching him, he was actually the one teaching me. He taught me the art and skills of communicating clearly and simple enough for both of us to understand. So it also taught me that passion and spirit could come in any sizes and shapes. So that's Aikido for you. It also taught me not to judge others. So I think this is one of the most valuable principle that I strongly hold to. Never judge anyone at all, and to treat everyone with fairness and equality. Well, swimming on the other hand, push me to always go beyond my limit. Whenever you are swimming alone, you are talking to myself, why the hell am I doing this? How long much more should I stay under the water? And I'm gonna drown, I'm gonna drown, I'm gonna drown. Well, you've done one lap without you realizing it. So that's what I learned from my swimming training. Um, Constantly, consistently pushing yourself, and all after that, you're done. You reach where you're supposed to be. So yeah, those are actually my hobbies.
Well, it's really amazing how you're very well rounded. You're musically inclined, you're inclined to sports, and it's amazing how you can apply that to your work and to your personal life as well.
You just have to, I always believe that we always have to open ourselves to any opportunities and possibilities, and don't judge. So I think when we stop judging, that's when all the miracle things could happen. That's when you start to see life differently.
Wow, you're just such an amazing woman
Oh no,
to
no, no, no. I'm learning even from you, like right now.
thank you. So moving forward, tell us a bit about your take since Raya Airways is a cargo outfit, right? How has the current situation affected the company?
Well, personally, as you can see from my career journey, I can safely say that I'm a very tactical person, including in choosing my career path. So my choice of joining Raya was actually not something that happens by accident. I did that by consciousness and intentionally because I saw a huge potential in Raya Airways. Well, at this juncture, Raya Airways is actually one of the only three licensed airlines in Malaysia that is allowed to operate a full air freight services to and from Malaysia. The current accelerated growth of e-commerce has actually reshaped the airline's commitment to anticipate and respond to the evolving needs of our customers and also to extend our footprint in the region. Well, recently, which is almost 3 days ago, we just inducted our new B767 aircraft, which add to our current fleet of three B767 and one B737. And I would have to say many more to come soon. So with this added capacity, we hope that we could continually extend our time definite service that what makes us different than any other air freight providers. And we're also looking forward to extend that particular special service to more destinations within ASEAN and potentially across the Asia Pacific. So currently our network consists of 70 commercial flights, per week, of which capital cities and other cities are connected as well. And we are also looking for Philippines. Probably that's part of the radar. So Raya actually recorded growth even pre-COVID-19. So the pandemic, well, it's sad that we are facing this, but somehow or rather, Raya experienced accelerated growth ahead of our projections made earlier. So actually, whether we'll realize it or not, the pandemic had indirectly changed the patterns we conduct our life, including the need to physically present when we conduct any purchasing activities. So this actually accelerate the e-commerce, and that's where Raya hoped that we could continue support the industry in ensuring that the spur of e-commerce is consistent and continuous, and in the end would benefits everyone out there, including you. I believe you do need some online shopping as well, right? Increase
Yeah, I
hopefully.
do.
There you go.
So, like, Raya has been very lucky in this pandemic, I believe.
Well, I believe the right time, the right moment, the right services was offered, and it's actually the credits needs to be given to all Raya members. We call ourselves Raya Mili, Raya Mili. Uh, their commitments of meeting all the accelerated demand that just suddenly boom was mind blowing. Some of them even didn't leave offices for a few days. That and even made their spouse came drop by to the office just to drop their uniform and shirt so that they can change. That's how committed they are actually to help meeting all the increased sudden demands. Yeah, so I would say lucky is one part of it, that but the bigger chunk was actually the perseverance as well as the commitment shows by the Raya Milli. Without that, despite being lucky, we're not going to be where we are today. So yeah.
Wow, that's so amazing. So, touching base into what the WIA project is actually focused on, how do you feel about women in aviation and what can you say about our futures for the younger generation?
Cool. Well, as we speak at the moment, based on my experience in general, aviation has always been regarded as male-dominated industry, particularly at the management level positions. Almost all airlines are headed by male. However, I can see that the situation is starting to change slowly and progressively, and a more relaxed approach on gender were actually be given considerations. Even at the ICAO level, they're pushing for women to actively participate in aviation. Even the current ICAO Secretary General, Dr. Fang herself, is a woman, and she had actually set history by being the first lady, the first Asian to be at the highest rank of the organizations globally that helps to set the aviation industry worldwide. So it has been done and proven throughout her tenure as the Secretary General. A lot of progress made by IQ. So I think she had set the record straight to everyone that look, women could do it, and sometimes we even do it better. I believe it's still a long way before we could make this aviation industry gender stereotype free, like the medical industry or even the education industry. I mean, those two industries are gender free. I mean, they can be associated with male and female. The participations of both genders are equal, I would say. However, I strongly believe that we are actually at a good path to achieve that soon, perhaps sooner than we expected, with active participations from organizations like WIAA itself. So I'm actually not a very strong feminist myself, but I am a very strong opponent to male chauvinism. I believe all humans are equal, and stereotyping needs to stop pronto, actually. That is something that we need to make clear to all the youngsters out there, regardless their gender, women or boys or anyone in between, or whoever wanted to identify themselves as. Stereotyping of their physical skin colors, what they're born with, should be stopped. Should be stopped
Yeah.
pronto. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to emphasize what you said, that it's slow but it's progressive. So that's what's really important, right? That
It is. It is.
it's
It is.
going. Yeah. So do you think that we can be more effective towards our quest, and what do you suggest that we do more?
Well, actually, I applaud WAA for the great effort in promoting women in aviation, particularly in Asia. Well, coming from east coast of Malaysia, to be specific, Kelantan, both my parents are Kelantanese. So Kelantanese has always been associated as a country that has a strong woman's influence throughout history. They even have woman rulers, which is something that is not regular within other history of other Malaysian states. But for Kelantan, that is nothing new to us. So this is something that I've found very much very much similar to WIAA, that women could actually contribute, and the spirit and the togetherness that we are trying to promote is actually something very breathtaking, and something that I'm very familiar with through my background. I believe that to enhance women's participation in aviations, um, whatever strategy should address two different angles. First is actually promoting amongst women to participate in the industry itself. And second is actually to ensure an equal entry barrier is imposed to all, regardless of gender. So it does not only require participation from women, it also require participations from all industry players, regardless at the ministry level, regulatory level, or even companies who are actively involved in the aviation industries. They need to ensure that equal entry barrier is imposed. IQ had done something that we could apply. For examples, for every intake, for every positions, shortlisted candidate must include a woman. So I think that is something that every industry player could try to follow the footstep of. Without that, I think they would have to reopen that position again for to ensure that that policy is met. Three shortlisted has to be a woman or something like that. In fact, during interview, I was made to understand that the panel of interviewers, one of them at least has to be a woman as well. So
Wow.
there you go. That is something that probably WIAA could promote and to push all the industry player out there to adopt, maybe.
Yeah, it could be like a small step towards a bigger cause,
Correct.
right?
Yes, agree.
So, using this platform and the position that you have right now, how could you say that you would inspire youth, especially during inner times? Because I personally know a lot of younger female women that have doubts ever since the pandemic, especially entering our industry.
Yeah, I understand that. So at Raya, I think generally most of Raya Mili are male, but certain sections of the functions was actually dominated by female actually. So for us, whenever we met our new colleague, ladies joining Raya Mili, we would definitely extend not only our professional career hands, but we also extend our sisterhood. So I believe like extending sisterhood is quite important to all, regardless where they're from, regardless the age, because only women would understand women better. um, it's not struggle, but our journey is slightly different than men. Let me put it this way: a colleague of mine, she's very brilliant, very smart. However, just because of her gender, um, she would have to work double hard than the male colleague in selling her ideas. And I personally experienced that as well throughout my career when I negotiate on behalf of Malaysia. Whenever I speak, the bilateral partners, on the other hand, who are dominated by all males, will refuse to look me in my eyes during meetings, which I don't understand why. But lately, I tend to realize that probably that's male chauvinism. So we would have to speak clearer, um, more precise, and just do double work, like as opposed to our male colleague. So my advice to all the young girls out there: number one, the most basic thing that you need to have is actually the right attitude. The right attitude will bring you far. However, that's not enough. Knowledge is also important. So always, always, always challenge yourself. Do not compete with others. Only compete with yourself. I compete with myself. Hence, that's why I started to do all the crazy things, because I think like, why shouldn't I? um, you know, compete with yourself, right attitude, continuous learning and knowledge. That will definitely take you far. At least for me, it works, and I hope it might work for others as well. And also have to remember, being a woman, sensitivity. You are not alone in this world. You are somebody's daughter. You are someone's sisters. You are someone's friend. You are an employee. You are a team leader. You are a citizen. So whenever you wanted to say a piece of your mind, do it in a classy way and never cast a doubt to yourself, because you know yourself well. However, be careful of not being too overconfident. So balance all that. I think you'll do well.
Yeah, so besides like improving yourself, it should be women supporting women, right?
Definitely, definitely. No doubt about that. If you mess with one of us, you mess with the rest of us. Something like that.
Yeah. So to before we end this, we would like to hear from you what quotes or like what keeps you moving in this time and in this industry. Maybe you could share something with us.
Yeah, this is very personal to me. I never say it openly to anyone, but this is something that is deeply rooted within me. So when I was a youngster in my 18, I have a rebellious side of me. So I would like to do something that is not known and not accepted by the society. And at that point, when it didn't went really well, I got frustrated, And my mom came to me and said this to me: look, never stop, never give up. There's always hope. And then I said, like, yeah, that sounds so cliche. Until she said this. She said, remember, even a prisoner who was sentenced to death by judge or jury, even they can still appeal for their life. And sometimes the appeal were accepted. So what made you think that you don't have any hope at all in life? Just keep on trying. There's always one last hope. There's always one last hope. If this doesn't work, there's always be another. If this doesn't work, there's always be another. So that's my main principles until today in whatever I'm approaching in life, be it career or personal. Always try. There's always way.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate that end of your story. That's very
I hope it
touching
helps.
from your mom. So we from in behalf of WIAA project, we would like to thank Sid for being with us here today and for sharing her wonderful story and for inspiring all of us, even though it's through virtual situation. So thank you, Sid.
Thank you so much, Joanna, and thank you so much, WIAA, and not to forget Katie for the great initiatives. Applaud to her. She is an inspiration herself. So yeah, that's why I choose to support, because she did it, and all of us should actually do the same. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Joanna.
Thank you so much, Sid. Never give up, guys, because
Never.
yeah.
Chaya.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.